Settle in, you night owls and edge walkers. It's Pete here, your master of mysteries and antiquary of the arcane, piping in from the Jersey side of the river where Delaware whispers its old grudges. Tonight is, it's December 7th, 2025, and we are cracking open a Pennsylvania-shaped can of worms, the kind that slithers out when you least expect it. We're talking a Bucks County UFO close shave in 1973, the Meadowcroft rock shelter, a timeline-bending secret, Chan Thomas's Cataclysm blueprint from 1965, the lumberjack phantom called the Hidebehind, and the latest on Interstellar Visitor 3I Atlas. As it ghosts our system right now. This ain't some tidy ghost story. It's the Keystone State's underbelly, where UFOs crash parties with cryptids, ancient digs rewrite migration maps, and forbidden texts map doomsdays that echo in the stars. Pennsylvania's always been a pressure cooker for the weird. Think Kecksburg's acorn-shaped intruder or the Bellwood Days lights that had folks barricading doors. But 1973, that summer flips the script. Blending lights in the sky with hairy interlopers that smelled like sulfur and regret. And Meadowcroft, it's not just rocks. It's a slap to every textbook insisting humans strolled into the Americas post-Ice Age. Thomas's manuscript, CIA snipped for a reason. Cycles of crustal flips that bury civilizations like yesterday's headlines. The Hidebehind, urban myth for the backwoods. The shadow that explains why loggers vanish without a ripple. And today, as 3I Atlas hangs at a magnitude of 11.5 in Virgo, 170 million miles off of our shoulder, it's a reminder the cosmos does not knock politely. We will weave these threads without the fluff, no ghost hunter gadgets or tinfoil sermons, just the raw strata of what we've dug up from archives, witness logs, and orbital feeds. If you're nursing a coffee in Philly's haze or staring at Pittsburgh Steel's ghosts, hit the chat if something pings with you from your locale. But keep it sharp. We're here for the signal, not the noise. By tonight's end, you'll see how these dots connect. Ancient shelters hiding pre-Clovis blades, saucers birthing Bigfoots, texts predicting pole wobbles, and tree huggers stalked by nothing you can nail down, as well as a comet from another sun slinging red dust our way. Buckle up! The unknown's got teeth tonight. Oh, I got some stuff. Here we go. You ready? You ready? The Wainwright UFO encounter, Bucks County's 1973 sky breach. I want you to flash back to August 27th of 1973. Warminster Township, Bucks County, that slice of suburbia, hugging the Philly sprawl, where cornfields butt up against cul-de-sacs. It's dusk, the kind where humidity clings like a bad debt. And Harry Wainwright, a no-nonsense auto mechanic with grease under his nails and zero patience for tall tales, steps out for a smoke. He's mid-drag when the sky cracks open. A gleaming disc, saucer-shaped, 50 feet across if it's an inch, hovers dead silent over his driveway at treetop level. No engine hum, no vapor trail, just the burnished aluminum egg, edges sharp as a switchblade, reflecting the last smear of sunset like it's mocking gravity. Wainwright freezes, cigarette dangling. The thing tilts lazy-like, ports along its belly, pulsing with a cold blue glow that paints his gravel in electric frost. And then zip, it drops low, skims his roof with a whisper that rattles his fillings, and banks hard over the neighbor's split level. It punches eastward towards the Delaware, and it's gone in a heartbeat, leaving scorch marks on his lawn and a headache that lasts till breakfast. He bolts inside, grabs a rotary, and dials the cops. You got something up there screwing my airspace. Dispatch logs it dry, unidentified aerial, no pursuit vector, but Wainwright's no lone wolf in this instance. That night, A half dozen calls flood the switchboards from Levittown to Ben Salem. Glowing orbs dodging cars on Route 1. Shadows pacing backyards. A low hum that sets dogs to howling. One trucker swears his CB fritzed mid-haul. Static hissing coordinates in a voice like submerged gravel. Stan Gordon, that Greenberg field hound who'd been chasing lights since Kecksburg in 65, rolls in 2 days later with a Geiger counter and a notebook. He maps its epicenter at the Wainwrights, radiating out like a fault line. Witnesses sketch the same profile, riveted hull, no seams, lights in a pentagram array that don't flicker like bulbs ought to. Dig deeper, and 73 is no outlier. It's the flare-up in a wave that summerjacked the whole state. July logs show 60-plus sightings from Erie to the Poconos, but Buck's ground zero for the hybrid weird. Post Wainwright reports spike with a twist, not just lights, but landings. A Quaker farm off a street road finds tripod scars in the soil samples pinging anomalous boron spikes like exotic fuel residue. Gordon's files bulge with follow-ups. Wainwright's mutt goes blind overnight. Pupils milked white. His wife dreams of tall figures in hissing corridors, and she wakes with ozone taste on her tongue. No hypnosis, no regression, just the residue of intrusion. You tied into the bigger snarl. That fall, UFO flaps birthed Bigfoot sightings across Fayetteville and Westmoreland counties. Glowing spheres are dropping hairy 8-footers that reek of sulfur with eyes like brake lights. Wainwright's disc, it was a harbinger or a hatchery. The Air Force's Project Blue Book had shuttered 4 years prior, leaving NICAP scraps and MUFON wet behind the ears. No Freedom of Information Act gold mine, just redacted text hinting at radar pings from McGuire Air Force Base, vectors that don't track to any phantom sortie. 52 years on, it's like a puncture wound in the official narrative. Something punched through over Bucks. It left boot prints in the psyche, and Pennsylvania's been flinching ever since. If skies hum tonight, check your 6. It might not be a drone. All right. So, by the way, let's get into the chat. All right. So I do want to take a moment to get through our first story before I address the chat tonight. Kind of reworking things a little bit here. I feel that with the unavoidable rise of artificial intelligence, that going forward, things like authenticity and humanity are really where it's at, and with that in mind, I want to do this humanly as possible, you know what I mean? As forthright as a person can do it. So, I've just been trying to spend a little more time on getting this together in the way I, have done it in the past. I wanted to be a little more natural about it. I feel like, over the last few months, I've been really happy to get back into it, but I guess I was just trying to find the right tone, the right voice to bring this content to you guys. And I decided to just go a little more relaxed, and we're going to restructure the show just a little bit. I'm going to knock that first story out. Then we'll dip into the chat. We'll discuss the first tale that we had, and we'll say our hellos at this point. So with that in mind, how y'all doing? Thank you for being here. I do appreciate you guys. Now, because my vision is absolutely atrocious, let me go ahead and click over here, see if I can read what the heck is going on. First of all, I want to say thank you to our live chat moderator, Miss Tina Tomaszewski. And hey, everybody who's here, I want to thank you guys for tuning in as well. You see a lot of familiar faces here tonight. There's the lovely Sherry. Thank you for tuning in, Sherry. Ginger Viking Jesus hanging out. That's excellent. Mr. Milky Way Soul Tribe, what's going on? How you been? RR, Elder Groon, Rose Beach, what's up? Let's see who else we got hanging out. I saw St. Germain was here earlier, my man Jesse. Ginger, thanks for the super sticker, dude. That's really cool of you. I appreciate that very much. Very kind of you. Jonocide hanging out. Real Tony Nasser here too. Thank you so much, folks. So I see people are just trickling in. We already got that first story out of the way. Sorry about the delay tonight. Excuse me. I was experiencing some technical issues in that regard. So it has been a little bit of a challenge here. It's been 2 weeks. It's been about 2 weeks since we did our last stream. And, I'm glad to be back, to be honest. It's nice to be doing it again. But with that in mind, however, I wanted to make sure that we were, here tonight and had a fresh new presentation. We got a mix of a few different things to talk about, some more lighthearted stuff and some more historical items as well. We also will get that 3-Eye Atlas update towards the end because that's definitely something we've been paying a lot of attention to. So yeah. So hi everybody, thanks for being here. I'm glad you could tune in tonight. Again, sorry for my lateness. I got a few announcements to make. I'm going to get to work on some new merch designs. I think what I'm going to do going forward, and I mentioned this in the past few weeks. I knew last time I streamed, I think this came up. What I'm going to do is we're going to start doing just one-off items. So we'll do like a one-off item. We'll sell it for about 10 days, and then we'll move on to the next item. These things will be shooting star kind of pieces of merch. Get it while you get it, and then I don't plan on like remaking them. Maybe I guess if something's super popular and we want to bring it back out, yeah. But I got a few ideas. We want to get something new out there, see how it does, and go from there. So hopefully, if you guys are interested in picking up something cool, I'll get some designs together and we'll see what's what. Anywho, without further delay, I don't see any specific questions geared towards what we're talking about. This was an interesting one for me. I will lay this out for you. So I had heard tale of this. This is a suburb of Philadelphia, about north of Philadelphia. Still pretty urban up there. I mean, like I guess I wouldn't say semi-rural, definitely suburban. Strip malls, still pretty close neighborhoods, but larger houses, bigger yards. It's definitely not Philly. But I had heard this tale of an incident that occurred in the 70s, and like the old timers couldn't really nail down a lot of the details for me. But this went around, and I'd heard from several different sources over this time that people were seeing stuff in the 70s in that part of Philadelphia, like up north of the city and in those surrounding suburbs. And in my hunt for kind of a detail on this one specific story I was told, where people were on a specific road, lights appeared in the sky, craft, traffic stopped, everybody was standing in the street pointing at this stuff. But again, in the era before ubiquitous cameras, in the era of payphones, we're talking the 1970s. Also, there was the stigma attached to these things, so people didn't want to seem crazy. So you figure, it wouldn't be widely reported, but something that kind of was stuck with the local folklore, I guess, the local urban legends. Guru Augie, what's going on? How you doing? But yeah, so interesting stuff there. But I was able to find some more out about that, and I wanted to bring that story to you guys tonight. I think it's a pretty good one, honestly. I think it's a pretty good one. I want to find out more about it personally, and some other of the more of those 1970s reports. Apparently, they were happening all over the country at the time. But without further ado, let's roll into our second story here. This is a pretty interesting one. Now, this was not intentionally a Pennsylvania-themed show. I just happen to have two bits of information that both come from Pennsylvania. So please don't feel like you're being left out here. We're not doing a State of Fear kind of thing. If you guys remember that ancient series I used to do. But yeah, this was not an intentionally like Pennsylvania-themed show. So we're going to roll into the next one. Excuse me. For those of you who don't know, I had a pretty invasive eye surgery some years ago. And due to the scarring left by said surgery, I often experience some kind of a discomfort in my eye, specifically the right eye. It feels very much like as if there was sand or salt even in it. So please forgive me if I apply a few drops here. Generally, the sensation dissipates after a little lubrication is applied. It's not really a constant feeling, but it does occur from time to time. Anywho, let's roll into the next one. So this is a story about Meadowcroft Rock Shelter. This is like Pennsylvania's pre-Clovis time capsule, right? So if you drive west from Pittsburgh and you drop down into Washington County, you're going to hit Avella. It's quiet farms and rolling hills and a sandstone overhang that locals call Meadowcroft Rock Shelter. It looks like nothing special until you realize that people have lived under that ledge for 19,000 straight years, maybe even longer. That makes it the oldest known human site in North America by a long shot. Back in 1955, a farmer named Albert Miller was chasing a groundhog and hit flint tools with his shovel. He figured it was Native American stuff and left it alone. Fast forward to 1973. The University of Pittsburgh archaeologist James Adaviccio starts digging properly this time. And what he finds turns everything upside down. The deepest layers, way under the dirt, where later tribes built fires, give carbon dates between 16,000 and 19,000 years old. That's thousands of years before the Clovis people, the ones every textbook used to say were the first Americans 13,000 years ago. But Meadowcroft says, nope, people were already here, camping under this rock, making stone blades, burning hickory logs, and watching the same creek that we see today. They pulled out spear points, scrapers, tiny blade fragments, all made from flint. They carried hundreds of miles. From the dates that come from the charcoal in the sealed fire pits, they were tested over and over in different labs, and critics yelled contamination. But new accelerator tests shut that all down. The oldest stuff is still old. A chunk of the cliffs collapsed around 13,000 years ago, and it sealed the early layers like a time capsule. Nothing got mixed, nothing washed away. You walk in there now, and you are standing exactly where people stood when woolly mammoth were still wandering around. Why that matters tonight. If people were already living in Pennsylvania that early, they either got here before the ice sheets blocked the way, or they came from some other route, maybe boats along the coast. Either way, the history books are wrong. And when you tie it into Chan Thomas's pole shift cycles, it starts looking like these were survivors who crawled out after the last big reset and rebuilt while the planet was still shaking itself off. Stand under that overhang at dusk, and you can almost feel 19,000 years of eyes looking out at the same hills. The weird part, some nights, people still report strange lights moving above the bluff. Same sky, same creek, same stubborn refusal to stay buried. Meadowcroft isn't just old. It's proof that the timeline has been lying to us. Oh, I forgot to play my little... I forgot. I had a thing. Hold on, I got a thing. Wait, now I got to play my thing. Here we go. You can visit it. You can go take a tour. They got like a museum built over the thing. You can walk around it. You can go. You should. You should see it. I want to see it. You know? I mean, it's old. It's pretty old. 19,000 years of human habitation. That's crazy. That's pretty insane. You know? So, I mean, I think it's pretty fascinating. The first I heard about it, I immediately thought Göbekli Tepe. You know? Immediately. You know? And I mean, it's fascinating stuff. Is that Elroy? Elroy shredding? Is that you, sir? What's up? Been a minute. I hope you guys are all tweeting this out, sharing this on your socials. Need all the help I can get these days. I mean, you got a lot of new eyes on the shorts, but you know, I ain't seeing much of the ain't seen much change because of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really getting out there the way I thought I'd be at this point. After doing it again for a few months. But yeah, I don't know. Hey, Milky Way Soul Tribe's got a great question here. What kind of technology would we have if there was a pole shift? Would we live in caves? I think that's very likely. I mean, when you think about what's the hypogeum of San Serafini in is it Malta or Turkey? I can't really recall up there, but it's the humongous underground complex. It held something like, I don't know, 10,000 people and livestock. I mean, there were people hiding in there for a while. So had there been like cataclysmic earth changes, underground's probably the best way to go. You know, I mean, that's all I can figure. And of course that fits in with a lot of the urban legends regarding underground bases and super trains and all that stuff. But yeah, so I do think underground's the way to go. You know, there's plenty of these legends that we get of like the underground city of the lizard people that runs between Los Angeles and Nevada. I mean, so who really knows? G. Kincaid, the Grand Canyon Citadel. I mean, these all very well may fit together. But without any further ado, let's roll on into our next story for the evening. Let me see here. I just want to get straightened out here. Oh, let me see. I think I got another clip for this. I wanted to have little clips to break things up, spice it up a little bit, make it a little spicy. You know, so let me see what's next. Oh, I got this one here. Hold on. Yeah, so we're gonna roll into our next story here. This one is the spits out Chan Thomas's The Adam and Eve Story, The History of Cataclysms, 284 pages of pole shift prophecy that lands like a brick through the CIA's window. Thomas, aerospace tinkerer with a polymath itch, doesn't peddle Genesis fluff. He dissects it as a cipher for crustal displacements every 6,500 years or so. When the Earth's shell slips like a greased herring, tsunamis tall as skyscrapers scrub the continents clean. Biblical deluge, Sodom's fire, Atlantean sink, not divine tantrums, aftershocks of magnetic wobbles that let solar winds strip the ozone, mutate genes, and topple ziggurats. The hook? Thomas crunches paleomag data from Coover and Deluc, maps reversal scars in balsam flows, ties them to Sumerian clay, Vedic hymns, Hopi petroglyphs, all screaming cycles of bury and reboot. The last flip, 10,500 BC, crust lurching 2,000 miles equatorial, poles cartwheeling, mammoths flash frozen mid-meal with buttercups in their guts. Survivors, cave hivers like Meadowcroft's crew, piercing tech from the wreckage, bleeding myths from the marrow. He sketches the mechanics, outer core sloshes, field collapses, solar plasma fires the ionosphere, crust unlocks and slides, supersonic winds, mile-high breakers. Civilization pulped to paste. So the intelligence agencies, they grab it hot and they declassify snippets of it in 2013. 57 sanitized pages. The result, well, these leaks finally cracked the seal. Why? Because Thomas was nailing the rhythm. The next tumble was due around 2000 to 2010. The symptoms were already itching. Auroras at the equator, bird die-offs, seismic stutter. He weaves Jesus, a Nagaland scholar, aliens as post-cataclysm curators, wild but rooted in those forbidden strata where history loops like a Mobius scar. This is not fear porn. Thomas's tone is clinical, an engineer's autopsy of the apocalypse with appendices that are graphing galactic heliaces that sink the dooms. Link it live. Meadowcroft's pre-Clovis holdouts, Adam and Eve's ragged kin, post-Younger Dryas lurch, Wainwright's discs, scout from a system that knows the flip, or tech salvage from the last wipe. And the Hidebehind, echoes of a mutated fauna, shadows warped by field collapses, stalking the fringes where reality frays. Now, Thomas died in 98, but his blueprint lingers. A reminder that Eden wasn't paradise. It was the interregnum, the hush before the shell cracked again. Now, as 3-Eye Atlas flings Tholen dust our way, ponder, is it messenger or marker? Red haze heralding the slide, forbidden for a reason. Knowledge like this doesn't liberate, it levels. You got them lumberjacks jacking around in the woods. You're going to be talking about the Hidebehind. The lumberjacks' folklore's perpetual shadow. 19th century logging camps, Maine to Michigan, Pine Barrens even, where axes bit deep and night swallowed men whole. That is the cradle for the Hidebehind, that gaunt specter of Paul Bunyan yarns turned sour. Not your jackalope gag. This one's the void in the tall tales. The reason that solo choppers ghosted back to bunkhouse empty-handed, screams curdling in the fog, born from fearsome critters. Now, compilations like Tryon's 1910 Ledger It's folklore's negative space, a bipedal blur. 6 feet of sinew shrouded nothing. Fur like chimney soot. Eyes, feral slits that wink from peripheral hell. The gimmick? It's never in front of you. Spin, and it's ducked behind the oak. Pivot, and it's mirrored on your flank. Breathe hot on your nape. Claws tense for the rip. Lumberjack spun it as a logger's poltergeist. Hisses like a steam vent. Gait, a rustle that paces your pulse. Always one trunk buffered. Prey profile, the isolated. The straggler ditching chow for one last swig of whiskey. Fatigue fraying his guard. It doesn't charge. It erodes, feeding on that twitch till you bolt blind into its dragged to some root womb den where bones bleach anonymously. No full sketch exists of this creature, but that's the genius. It's that unseen itch, the paranoia etched in a logging camp lore to glue the crews tighter together. Deeper cut, it's a mutation myth, kin to Thomas's gene-warped survivors, a post-cataclysm lurker adapted to the cull. The Pennsylvania ties. So those 1973 Bigfoot flaps in Fayetteville's hollers, the sulfur-stinking hulks that evaded spotlight like pros, Hidebehinds maybe bulked up, perhaps, or maybe kin that were split by the pole flip. As for Meadowcroft's ancients, they knew the woods had teeth. They had blades for beasts that hid in the same plain strata they were found in. And the Wainwrights, if the discs were dropping shadows, the Hidebehind would be perfect for the ground crew, phasing through sight lines like a bad edit in a reality reel. Today, it haunts crypto podcast and trail cams that catch zips in the JPEG, a Jersey Devil cousin for the Adirondacks, but rootless, pure evasion. Now, this is where the absurdity bites. To hunt it, you circle your own spine until vertigo claims you. It's not monster. It's the mirror's blind spot. The urban dread of Jersey Pines, where paths loop back on themselves. Your next solo hike, you want to feel that little tingle in the back of your neck? Don't turn around. It's already there. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm feeling silly tonight, folks. We're feeling silly tonight. Oh, my goodness gracious. I am just ripping through these stories tonight. I did not realize how fast we were tearing through this show. This is incredible. I did not pay enough attention to the time. So little poor pacing on my part. But I guess I'm a little out of practice. I haven't done this in 2 weeks. You think I'd be old hat at this kind of thing? Wouldn't even be an issue. But drop the ball, folks. We're trying something new, so it's a little different here. Sasquatch is red, and he's a very gentle. Oh, she's a very gentle lover. Ginger, are you implying that you had a romantic liaison with a Sasquatch? Is that the case? I mean, what's the deal with that, dude? Guru Augie, just recently earlier, I scroll by a video, and this African guy is building Noah's Ark and claiming there's going to be a flood 2.0. And another video saying the same thing. Now, see, that can't be the case, Guru Augie. We are explicitly told that the world will never end in flood again. That was the whole point of the rainbow. It was a symbol of God's covenant with the Noahide people that there would never be a flood to claim the earth again. So this time it will be fire from the sky. I think that's very likely. I mean, if you consult the Revelation stuff, that whole, waters turn to blood and star wormwood falls out of the sky and makes, another third of the water bitter. And, people are throwing themselves under the mountains hoping for death, but they can't get death. It's a little different there. I think a little different, but maybe we are in an era of change, a new epoch. The New Agers have been pointing to the age of Aquarius for, as long as I can remember. I've been watching a lot of this content regarding this weird stuff since before the internet. These old reruns of television specials and series like Mysterious World and In Search of. And that's really like the foundation for my curiosity about these topics. But that said, I use the word genre loosely. I'd say this area of research broadly, everything under the umbrella of the fringe, and I'd say that varies between your paranormal, your cryptids, your hidden history, the conspiratorial, the occult, all these things. There's like a great big intersection between them. And I mean, if you look deep enough, you'll see there's a thin layer of it right beneath the surface of everything. And that's clear from what we've seen replete through the entertainment industry for many years. And there's people that have been pointed out for a long time. I'm not one of these guys that immediately defaults to the idea that the a Super Bowl halftime show or a Grammy Awards ceremony are occult rituals, and they're tipping their hat and they're using these symbolism. And now I do believe these symbols are used, but I think that's specifically because these people who are into these arts, I don't mean the occult arts, I mean like the performing arts, the traditional arts, painting, sculpting, these kind of things. They are generally aware of these concepts. It's very likely that when you see these things incorporated into various pieces of media, and I think Doja Cat might be a really good example of this. She's done several like photo shoots where she gets in these like demonic makeup stuff on her, and brings her lots of attention because of the people that start clutching their pearls over this, like, oh my God, it's so demonic and stuff. That these images are used to inspire that reaction. And that's what I think. I mean, essentially, that just reveals how much power these symbols have. Symbols are very powerful, but I mean, it's also used as a way to manipulate. If you have some pop star go out there at like an Oscar or a Grammy show performing a musical number, and the whole theme of the stage show is, monarch butterflies, the next day you're going to have 20,000 YouTube videos that want to relate it back to some kind of like government mind control or tipping their hat. And look, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. It really, the logic behind it, I've always found confusing. This kind of revelation of the method, like, because that's not really the case. It's a great contradiction, like specifically because when we speak about the esoteric and when we use the word occult, the root of this word is a clue as to what it means. It just means secret, occultus, where it comes from. It means secret. And like the esoteric, that is what is within, whereas the exoteric is what is without. So I think often a lot of these terms are misused. And I feel that there's a very poor understanding of these concepts by most average people. They get most of this information from, maybe some, religious leader in their youth or a Hollywood movie, when these subjects are so much deeper and nuanced than that. I think that I've been led down a lot of interesting rabbit holes pursuing the roots of religion. And I was exposed to ideas like the Renaissance idea of the Prisca Theologia. And this set me on a really deep dig into the roots of monotheism. And I will say that while the practitioners of Judaism regularly claim the title of earliest monotheistic religion, it would be a disservice not to mention Zoroastrianism, which very likely comes to prominence right around the same time, if not earlier. And this was also a monotheistic faith in a time when these kind of belief systems were unheard of. So, I think that the idea of widespread paganism is very alien to us. And I often wonder, how did such a religious structure where most human beings on the planet were broadly pagans, how did this affect like sociological components of their civilization? How were people interacting with each other? And I was always under the assumption that when you are, let's say you're from Thrace and you're going to visit Damascus, okay? Well, let's say both places are full of pagans. Now, you might worship a specific, localized deity, a deity that represents the city state that you come from, but that does not negate the gods of the city you're going to. And since you've already accepted there are multiple gods in your own faith, you likely don't want to offend gods in the territory you're walking into, so you stop at some kind of temple and make offerings to them too. I believe these were common practices in the ancient world. So did the paganism that allowed for the belief in multiple deities and broad pantheons, did that kind of like prevent religious conflict? We don't really hear much about historical religious conflict among pagan groups. Generally, their conflicts are rooted in conquest. When Alexander the Great gets to Egypt, it wasn't about race or religion. It was about conquest, and for 25 dynasties after Alexander's death, these were Macedonian, these were descendants of Macedonia. Cleopatra was Greek. Likely didn't even speak whatever language they spoke in Egyptian at the time, which was probably Egyptian and not Coptic. And we're talking a long time ago. But that said, these societies were so vastly different than what we understand. So who knows how that would have worked? And I find that very curious. And I don't know, was the world a more tolerant place when everybody believed in multiple deities and also felt that their neighbor's deity, whether or not they shared that particular belief, still had power over them by the nature of the fact that they were a deity? If you have a, if my personal devotion in ancient Greece was to, say, Neptune or Poseidon, or, and yours was to Hades, it's not like we would necessarily have too much of a conflict with one another over those things. I just assume. It doesn't seem very polarizing. And even though the monotheist would reject the whole cloth, all the pagan practices, but it's still, I find it all very alluring, these kind of comparative studies of the world as it was. And I'm not somebody who is about to draw circles in the basement, light a bunch of candles, and get into ritual practices and pantheons of long dead deities that were largely either created whole cloth by the imagination or were some type of other entity masquerading for power and privilege in these areas. But that's just me. That's my own belief system, and and sometimes I'm in a conflict with that. I mean, I would love to say that I don't have a tendency to kind of see a dichotomy between my instincts and inherent feelings as an American regarding just our standing in the world and what we've accomplished as a nation versus my own personal religious beliefs and my allegiance to that. So I just kind of feel like it's God, family, country in that order. But that's just me. And look, I think that, really, look, it's important to care about where you live. All right. That's it. And that's what I'm going to say about it. It's important to care about where you live. I'll also say that I'm not interested in paying my neighbor's bills, nor do I expect my neighbor to pay mine. I don't have a right to anybody else's money or their work. And last but not least, I think that as far as we go, some of us are fortunate to be born in better places than others, and this is all a roll of the dice and the luck of the draw. But in that case, I think that, and this is the Philadelphian in me, most people who are born in Philly tend not to go anywhere. You will see 10 generations of a family live within the same 5-block radius. That said, I think it's very important to bloom where you are planted. I think it's important to bloom where you are planted. If you can make an improvement in a community you care about by your very presence and your investment of time in said community, then I think that's important. But if you have, good, responsible, hardworking, decent people of vision, people that are oriented towards achieving things for the greater good, who abandon these places that they come from, then I think that everybody suffers. So I think bloom where you're planted. Nobody owes us nothing, and God, family, country, right? So I would like to see I'd like to see our lives improve. Everybody, I definitely want to see that. We used to really dream about the future, and now I think it's become something we're more a little anxious about. But I think we can turn it all around. It's that buzzer beater that really makes it dramatic. I think that's the case. So I don't know. I don't have all the solutions, and I would love to see a really like charismatic, unifying person of vision. Not necessarily a politician, but a leader, no less. Maybe a thought leader, maybe somebody who inspires others. And I don't see that from many religious figures anymore. There are none. There are none. I question the judgment and the goals of many religious leaders. Very questionable behavior from these people. So we'll see. We'll see. We gotta stay hopeful though, right? We gotta stay hopeful. We gotta stay hopeful. All right. Well, I've chewed up a ton of your time. I just wanted to kill a little time with some fluffing and stuffing. All right, Hey, we're having stovetop for dinner. I'm gonna stay over Jimmy's house. Encore's a 2-parent family size, but I don't have a family. I do. We'll be over 6. Old references. Old man making old references. Catch out the news when the old man makes the old references. Hurry up and see him now before the heart disease claims his coronary. All right. I'm not going to drag this out a full hour. I think that we're close enough. So we'll give you that 3-eye Atlas update. We'll wrap it on up, and we'll roll from there. It's probably better that way. Easing back into it has been kind of nice. So yeah, I think that it's good to see you guys. I appreciate you being here. Oh, numbers ain't looking so hot tonight. Well, that's what happens when you start late. I can only take the blame myself. Oh man. Wow. Oh, that shows me where's what. That shows me where's what. Okay. So anyway, let's get into our last bit of info for the night. We're gonna fill you in on this 3-eye Atlas stuff. Now we're gonna rock it from there. We'll say our goodnights and move along home. Okay, so got a 3-eye Atlas update. This interstellar intruder. This is information current as of December 6th, 2025. Right now, as your screen glows, 3-eye Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar drifter. It is Atlas surveys July 25 snag from Chile's Radio Hurtado, lulls at magnitude 11.5 in Virgo's sprawl, 1.4 astronomical units outbound from its October 30th perihelion flirt with our sun at 130 million miles. No rock. NASA's JWST NIR spec sniffed coma gas. August 6th, Hubble UV'd sulfur oxygen ratios in November. It's a comet. Nucleus capped at 5.6 kilometers, maybe slim to 440 meters. Slinging red tholins like irradiated confetti, grains, microns fat, echoing D-type asteroids and Borisov's 19's tail. Trajectories a sling. Mars grazed October 3rd at 29 million kilometers. Venus November 3rd at 97 million kilometers. And Earth's coming up December 19th at 269 million. Safe as a Jersey pothole, but close enough for Tess and Swift to snag some spectra data. Psyche probe clocked it September 8th and 9th, 53 million kilometers off, refining arcs with multi-spec cameras. The European Space Agency's ExoMars TGO triangulated from Martian orbit, slashing uncertainty tenfold. First astrometry from another world's bird in the MPC ledger. The coma bloomed June to July 25th from 13,000 to 18,000 kilometers. Pre-discovery ghosts back to June 5th, lost in the galactic center's glare. Weird Weave discovered amid 25 solar minimum stutter Magnetic fields fraying like Thomas's prelude. Red hues scream organic scorch, the kind that mutate Meadowcroft migrants or birth Hidebehinds in crustal chaos. UFO nod. Wainwright's disc pulsed blue-red. Three Eyes emission spiked similar bands, as if it's kin to the probes that poked Bucks County. No threat, NASA insists. Just a hypervelocity hitchhiker at 137,000 miles per hour, fading post-perihelion. JWST, due for December redux, but lore lingers. Avi Loeb uses alien tech in medium rants. Through Gerdemir at UT Dallas calls it ordinary interstellar slop, kin to Oumuamua and Borisov. Tonight, Tripod your 20 by 80 bins Equator Ward. It's borderline naked eye and now streaming proper away as it vectors Jupiter March 26 at 53 million kilometers. Ask Scout for the Flip or Relic from the system it rode in on. In Pennsylvania's shadow-haunted woods, where saucers and shelters converge, Three Eyes Red Whisper feels like a postscript. The Abyss emailing coordinates. Well, that is the weave unraveled. The Bucks scars from saucers bleeding into Meadowcroft's ancient anchors. Thomas's doom clock ticking under Hidebehind husks, all lit by Three Eye Atlas's fugitive glow. Pennsylvania just T-Stone. It's the fault where forbidden plates grind. Wainwright's disc didn't just hovered. It heralded the 73 hybrid storm. UFOs unloading Bigfoots that reek like brimstone, harbingers, shadows that phase like a hybrid's kin. Meadowcroft, not a shelter, a survivor vault, blades forged in the hush after Thomas's last crustal skid. Pre-Clovis pioneers who traded across ice locks. We swore it in thaw. That book, snipped by CIA for mapping the slide, reads like prophecy now. Fields collapsing, mutations marching, comets like Three Eye flinging irradiated breadcrumbs from the stars that flip their own scripts. Absurdities, the hook. Imagine Wainwright mid-smoke eyeballing the hull that births sulfur Sasquatches, while Ovidio Vasios shifts 16,000-year ash under the same sky where loggers spun yarns of tail-chasing phantoms. And today, three-eyed 11.5 magnitude Virgo-bound Tholins tracing past that echo Thomas's galactic helix. A drifter reminding us that the next tumble is cued. No panic, just pattern. Threads from Buck's Bluff to Avella Overhang, proving the arc's bent towards reoccurrence. You've hung with me through the strata. Now it's your turn. What pinged hardest with you? The disc blue pulse, the lanceolate's edge, the shadow sidestep, or that red comet's casual slingshot? Drop your thoughts below. I will shift the sane from the static. And if you're chasing more of our Midnight Mystery Sessions, they are happening every Saturday night at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I apologize for today's lateness and the last 2 weeks' absence, but we do deep dives into the drafts that don't make headlines. Like if this weave held your attention, subscribe for the next Unravel, and share if you've got a ghost of your own. Oh, we got here Deazad, $1.49 super sticker. Thank you very much, Deazad. Ginger Viking Jesus, $1.49 super sticker. Thank you, Ginger Viking Jesus. Hey guys, I appreciate that very much. Very kind of you. All right, well, look, I think the time has come to wrap it on up. There's some videos I have to work on in the background for next week. I really want to get ahead so I'm not behind anymore, and I can breathe a little easier. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I appreciate your patience. I'd like to say thank you, too. Let me get this pulled up over here. I'd like to say thank you to Ginger Viking Jesus and Deus Zod for the super chats and super stickers. I appreciate that, guys. Very kind of you. I want to say thank you to all the channel members. Thank you to Tina Tomaszewski, our live chat moderator. Thank you to every one of you who just tunes in and hangs out. Like, it's awesome, and I appreciate you because, I mean, like, it would suck if I was just doing this to, like, nobody. I feel kind of pretty bad about myself, but, I mean, you guys make it all worth it. So I appreciate you being here. And that's going to do it for tonight. At the end of the day, You know, what's really left to say, folks? What's really left to say? So look, if you did enjoy this, please subscribe for the next unveiling. Share if you've got a ghost of your own, and stay sharp out. The world it's got more things that hide behind your back than doesn't. So until next time, this has been Dark Sayings. You've been watching the weekly Midnight Mysteries session. And until next time, see you in the shadows.